Welcome to the Pure Prison Podcast, a Society First production. My name is Shai Hillman. Before we begin, we want to give an introduction of our goals, and that is to provide a platform that identifies both the problem and the solutions to the criminal justice system. The purpose behind Pure Prison Podcast is to give a voice not only to those who have been impacted by the system, but also to those who are positively impacting the system. Society First wants to ensure that all guests feel free to express their thoughts and beliefs. With that being said, not all views and beliefs of those interviewed are necessarily the views of Society First. With that, we hope that we will inspire you to get involved, for it's only together that we will make a difference. Oh my goodness, welcome back to Pure Prison, everyone. I am so excited about today's podcast. We have an extraordinary man of God in our presence today, and I cannot wait to share his message of the Lord and love and restoration and hope that he has to share with you today. So that's what this podcast is going to be about, and I am so excited. So here we go. Well, good morning, Pastor. How are you today?
Good morning. You call me an extraordinary man of God. That's a bit of big shoes. I'm going to try my best to fill them today.
Well, let me tell you, I got to we recently met, and through a mutual contact that we have, and it has just every time I speak to you, you just glow, and I love it. You can just see you're filled with the Lord, and I love it. So now you, the reason I connected with you so much is you are kicking it in my hometown, pretty much. And I was like, he's from where, or he's going where? So tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to that St. Lucie County area?
Absolutely. I was, for many years, I was a pastor on staff at a church called Christ Fellowship, one of the largest churches in the state of Florida. And in 2019, the Lord just began to, speak to me in ways that I could not, ignore. And he began sharing with me the need to step out and to start a new church, reaching communities very similar to the community that I grew up in down in Miami. And, when God begins to poke and prod, there's only but so long you're going to be able to run from it. I began speaking with senior leadership at our church and shared the vision with them. They caught the vision and they said, hey, listen, we'll get behind you. And they sent us to Fort Pierce. And we opened in January of this year, 2021. And, man, we've just seen God do some incredible things. We had 242 people show up on day number one. We've seen...
On the first day?
On day one, we had 242 people show up. And since then, we've seen dozens of people give their hearts to the Lord, and people get baptized. And that's really, as a senior pastor, that's my paycheck right there, seeing lives change, hearts transformed. People that are far from God be drawn back closer to him. And that's what's happening in our church. So right now, I was telling my church actually the other day, my job, one of my jobs as the pastor is to let you know the score. Because, when you're playing a game of basketball, a game of football, there's a scoreboard right there. Well, in the church, there isn't always a scoreboard. And it's my job to define what a win looks like. And I told them, I said, in every way possible, we are winning right now. So we've just been seeing God do some incredible things in the beautiful city of Fort Pierce.
That's awesome. That is incredible. Now, you had mentioned just then Christ Fellowship. Yes. And I know that you were instrumental, a part of that, and also a prison ministry.
Yes.
That you and it was Pastor Mullins, Pastor Travis, right?
So it was myself and Pastor Travis, but Pastor Todd Mullins, our senior pastor, was 100% behind us and kind of gave us the fuel and the momentum to go forward on it.
So when you went in, and this is by far, it's absolutely amazing what happened, the transformation. You went into Martin Correctional.
Yes.
And just for the audience that's listening, Martin is called Murder Martin. It's one of the absolute worst places to be in Florida. You guys went in there, though, and had a gang leadership a program. And I know that the founder of Society First, Denise and Al, they were part of that church and that part of that mission. And what did you do? What was it like being in a room full of gang leaders?
Well, it was interesting. So when it was proposed to me initially by the chaplain. And he told me, he said, listen, we've got these gang leaders. Al is wanting to put together a group to really teach leadership lessons, but more so how to lead like Jesus. And when he shared it with me, I was like, I'm on board. Let's do this. What I didn't know was that when I got there, that they were going to put me in a room with them and close the door. And so it was initially, there was a little bit of like, okay, this is strange. But man, the guys embraced me from the very beginning. And, I'll never forget the first lesson I ever taught them, was how to be generous. And I remember, them saying, you got to understand, in the prison environment, we can't be generous. And I challenged them to think deeper. And I told them, no, there's got to be a way that you can be generous. And one guy spoke up and he said, well, listen, sometimes I've got commissary and I'm able to go and purchase snacks, whereas the next guy isn't. Maybe it's just a matter of me maybe giving a snack or two to a guy who doesn't have the same resources that I have. And then another guy spoke up and he said, yeah, maybe it's when I'm down, eating dinner, maybe it's me sharing part of my food with another guy that maybe gets his food. So, so they began kind of tossing around ideas as to how they can be generous in an environment like a prison. And man, it was, from that point on, one of the things I shared with them, I said, look, I will continue coming in and sharing the gospel with you as long as you guys work with me and help to keep crime down in the facility. And man, those guys, crime stopped in the facility altogether, because these guys played a huge role in, unfortunately, a lot of crime that took place in the facility. But they were so hungry for the word of God. They were so hungry to know how they can be better men, better dads. Most of them have kids. How they can be better dads, even locked up behind bars. They were so hungry for it that they were willing to do whatever it took to get it.
How beautiful is that? And that is transformation.
It is.
That's accountability, acceptance. And what's incredible is they're already leaders.
Mm-hmm.
They're already leaders.
Yes.
Let's teach those leaders how to lead better.
Yes.
And look what happened. In fact, I have it written down here. It's a fact that you guys were successful in stopping all stabbings for 12 weeks.
Yes.
Straight, straight, not 12 weeks intermittent, straight. That's
straight. Absolutely. And the second we ended our group, the stabbings went right back to happening. Right.
That hope was gone.
And I don't know that you want to get it, whether you want to get into why the group was ended or not, but it wasn't us that made a decision to end the group. It wasn't any of the guys in the room. It wasn't me. It was actually the warden made a decision. I don't want this group at my facility anymore. And immediately stabbings started back.
Yeah. So I'm curious, has anyone reached back out and asked, okay, have you guys tried to go back in? Is the Extension Church going to try to have a prison ministry?
Yes, we are. So COVID created somewhat of a hurdle in the prisons because for about a year, they were not allowing any volunteers at all to go into the prisons. Recently, they have allowed groups to come back in on the weekends. And from what I understand, they're going to allow groups to start going back in on the regular schedule throughout the week in the evenings, starting within the next couple of weeks. So to answer your question, yes, Expansion Church will be going in there to start doing services, hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Nice. Just a quick question. Are you guys able to go into Rock Road over there at all?
We are able to go into Rock Road. We have not yet put together a team to go into Rock Road, but we are planning to do that with Christ Fellowship. That was actually something that we got started. So there are still guys from Christ Fellowship going into both facilities, Martin Correctional as well as Rock Road.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Now, as a pastor,
yes,
you have a different perspective that I'd like to share. And it was kind of formulated when we were talking and everything. One of the questions is, can you explain what it is that's so transformative about not looking at these, for instance, those gang members, not looking at what they did, not looking at their crime to get where they are? How do you look past that because of their crimes to society? How do you do that? Can you share that? Absolutely.
So I think the first thing we all have to realize is that we are all one bad mistake from being in the same situation they're in. Oftentimes I talk to people and they're like, well, I've made mistakes in my life, but I would never make a mistake like that. And I oftentimes say, but by the grace of God, you haven't made a mistake like that. We are all are susceptible to making that mistake that ends us up in a situation like that. So first and foremost, recognizing that there's no difference between us and them. Secondly, when I go into the facility, and I encourage all of the guys that go in with me to think the same way, I do not care about what they did to get locked up behind bars. That's not my business. That's between them and the state. That's between them and God. That has nothing to do with me. My primary goal is to love them for who they are, not for their mistake, right? And so because we don't care, because we treat them like human beings, they respond like human beings. Because everybody in the facility treats them like their crime. They're constantly reminded of the crime that they did. We've just made a decision that while we're there, your crime means absolutely nothing to us.
That's right. And it's the slogan, we are not our crime. We're not. And, you know, redemption, rehabilitation,
yes,
restoration, transformation, yes, that healing and that hope that you bring to people's lives is just incredible. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about your plans for your church. What's going on? Do you got a youth group? What's happening?
Yeah, great question. Speaking of youth group, that is actually something that we are in the process of planning right now. We've got a children's ministry, a thriving children's ministry for kids 0 through 5th grade. They've been having lots of fun learning about Jesus. It's been great. But for our 6th through 12th graders, they really haven't had an environment for them to connect in. So we are actually starting a ministry called YTH, which is the abbreviation for youth. And that's going to actually be kicking off in the beginning of the school year. So about a little bit over a month from now. And we believe that God will use a 13, 14, 15-year-old to do the same amount of ministry as he'll use a 40, 50, 60-year-old. And so we are not putting any limits on these kids. We believe that these kids are called to do ministry in their schools. And we believe that these are the change agents. They're not the next generation. They are the current generation, right? So many people are like, hey, you know, God will use them in the next generation. No, we believe God wants to use them in this generation now. you know. So we're looking to equip and empower those kids to do incredible things for the kingdom. We are also moving. We had because of COVID, we weren't able to get into our original location. We were planning to launch at Fort Pierce Central High School, but because of COVID, the school would not, they would not allow us in. So fortunately, we reached back out to them and we're like, hey, people are getting shots in their arms now. Things are changing. Is it possible for us to get back in? And they've opened the doors and said, come on in. So on August 15th, we're going to be transitioning to a new location, Fort Pierce Central High School, meeting on Sundays, which was not possible before. We were meeting on Saturdays at a little small church. They met on Sundays. So we'll now be moving from Saturday nights to Sunday mornings in a brand new location. So we've got a lot of things to celebrate and a lot of things that we're excited about in this season of ministry.
This is incredible. And I love it because it's my hometown. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a plan to be there. I'm going to make sure it's on my schedule. I will be. I'm going to make it on that.
We'd love to have you.
You have a wife that joined you in this journey, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have a beautiful wife of 15 years. Her name is Shaterica. And we not only did she join me in the journey to launch this church, but she had enough faith and confidence in not only God, but in myself to actually walk away from her job as well, to trust God and believe that this is going to be successful. And I think we're now both reaping the benefits of having stepped out on the waters and trusted that God would carry us through. And so she's incredible. I could not have done this without her. I tell her all the time, like, Expansion Church is nothing without her.
That's incredible. And I will say, because I'm a preacher's daughter, preacher's wife, that carries a load too. And you know what? God bless you both. God bless you both. And thank you so much for sharing about the Expansion Church. I cannot wait to come on August 15th. Again, thank you so much for coming on today. Anytime that we can help promote you, if you need us to reach out to someone. And like you said I loved what you said, we're not going to put limits on these young people.
Yes.
And they reach so many social media and all of that. There should be no limits, not when it comes to God.
Absolutely. The kids will only put the limits that adults put on them. They only put the limits on themselves that adults what they learned. Yes. Yeah. All right, Pastor, it's been a pleasure. I cannot wait to shake your hand in person and give your wife a hug. Absolutely.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Remember, peace or pain? Haven't said it in a while.